Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soy Advisor. Usually, I'm broadcasting live from my studio at home, where I can see soybeans and cornfields. And look out my window today, and I'm not even sure where the nearest soybean field is. I'm up near Chicago this morning. I did drive up Interstate 88 yesterday. Definitely some the we've talked about this, the low level fields that there's quite a bit of ponding in some areas. Definitely yellow patches of soybeans that don't look too good. Other fields that look pretty good. Now, mind you, I was speeding by at 80 miles per hour. No one told my dad that, and it looked okay. I'll just say that. Who knows what's really going on in there? I know we've talked about the potential for diseases and stuff, and I'm sure that's out there. So that's what I was seeing yesterday. Let's go ahead and go around, talk about what's going on in the fields. I know it's been raining. Karen, you mentioned another derecho, not for Illinois, but went through Iowa. Did I hear Nebraska as well?
Well, it was predicted. I haven't
Okay.
confirmed if it actually happened yet.
Okay.
So I would think in the next half hour or so here we should hear more. But
But you got some rain, or you're getting some rain, and you said you actually needed it.
right. So we've really only gotten a tenth or so here and there the last 2 or 3 weeks. So to this morning we've had an inch and a half. So it's actually welcomed here at this point.
Good. Anything else going on from the fields that you're seeing,
Uh,
or is it?
I mean, it's just kind of, that time where you just leave it alone and let it do its thing. I've only seen a few airplanes up and about. I haven't really seen any ground rigs going anywhere. The aphid explosion in corn that we had, I talked to Dr. Sider, and he said in a lot of cases they blew up fast and then they, came down just as fast. So he was encouraging that you check and see what's still out there if you're concerned, because he was finding a lot of mummified casings that had gotten taken care of by the parasitic wasps, and also some that were very fuzzy from a fungal disease that was killing them off. So if you were still planning on spraying for that, I would definitely double check and make sure that it's still out there if you haven't already sprayed for it.
Weeds continue to be a problem. That's no surprise for anyone. Not much you can do right now.
There's not much you should do right now. Most of the herbicide traits are off label, even though I know Liberty in particular is a little vague. If you check out the actual seed company literature, it does have hard restrictions. So I would just let the beans be for now. If you've had good moisture, and you have nice Illinois soil, it's probably not competing as much as it would in a year if the plants were more stressed out. So don't make things worse. Don't spend more money. If you want to get out there and walk them, that's totally different and take out those patches or spot spray. But I wouldn't be making any full field sprays at this point, mostly because they're off label, but also because at some point you have to, you're not going to be able to kill larger weeds with herbicides.
Mhm.
The story. Thanks, Karen. Craig, down to you. What's going on? What are you seeing? Anything in the breeding world that we should know about?
So I guess I can give a little update there. So spent the last couple of days in Monmouth working through some just internal meetings, but we had a pathologist there that works heavily in corn, and I was just asking her like, what have you been hearing? Because she's got the ear to most of North America, and there's really just not much going on, which is good, which is bad for her. So. Um, the inoculated trials that we run through our breeding program, they are looking fairly good. So that's promising that we will get some data that way through our breeding program trials. But for like opportunistic type data that we would go out and take in whatever breeding field we might find it, just not seeing a lot. I've seen a little bit of rust and maybe some gray leaf spots starting, but it's definitely just very, very early. I've seen a few planes flying, but nothing like what I think I saw in the years past. But it could also be prices. Growth stages are all different, so that might be partitioned out a little bit differently than normal too. So just not seeing a ton, like Karen said, just kind of like let it do its thing, and kind of start keeping our eyes out for crown rot. Was kind of one of the other ones we've got listed to start looking for as the season progresses here. See that ghosting happening and try and get some notes on that if we can find it. So yeah, there's not a whole lot going on other than that. We'll be taking in-season notes across our organization, but that's pretty typical of what we do, how we operate. So as far as anything advice for growers or anything like that, just I guess think about what you've done this year and what you might do differently next year. Maybe in the weed side of things, I do see a lot of escapes in our breeding fields. Now some of that is we have alleys, we have inbreds that that don't fully canopy like hybrid corn does. Things like that, kind of expected. We typically see that, but even seeing escapes in the plot. So I think a lot of that is just the season we had and the continual rains and just a little bit different year. So, but yeah, it's been raining a lot, so I would expect to see some more disease, but we'll see. I don't know. See how it goes.
Yeah, I know this is soybeans, so we talk about soybeans, but real quick, how's the seed corn looking out there from your perspective?
I would say the same situation. I haven't. I mean, I've drive by some fields and they all look good. So the only other thing I could think of is just struggling to get through the field. Some if they have to do some, they do different pulling, cutting, all those sorts of things. But I might spend more time and money on them. But I haven't heard of any. I know last year we had a few hail storms take out some fields out in Nebraska last year. I haven't heard of anything to that effect yet, so that's good. But
so no news is good news. Let's put that.
Yeah,
put it that way.
that's a good way to put it. But I also don't. I'm not real connected to the product supply side of our organization. I am a little bit, but not. I don't get the details, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Eric, anything that you've been seeing while out scouting, or what questions are farmers asking you right now?
Yeah. So the kind of the weed control thing that Karen mentioned. Still get a few questions on that. I think it's pretty well died down by now. I think guys are starting to get it. That we're gonna have to do some actual mechanical means if we're gonna get rid of weeds at this point. But kind of switching gears. Maybe I know this is a soybean podcast, but corn and aphids were mentioned earlier, and that we visited with Dr. Nick Stater and everything. At least for our part of the world, if you've got that one particular hybrid that seemed to really show cornleaf aphids this year, and if you know, I'm not going to mention it here, but really encourage you to get out and scout those fields, especially later season hybrids. It seemed like cornleaf aphids really went after those fuller season hybrids, and in some cases, in our area, we're seeing some real pollination issues now that we've gotten through pollination, where only maybe half the ear was pollinated, and the ear size was going to support maybe a 20, possibly a 20 round, and maybe as long as a 40 long. So I mean, there's some big ears out there that flat out did not get pollinated from cornleaf aphids. So I really encourage people to get out and scout your field, see how pollination occurred, if pollination is done, just so that way there's no surprises when we do get to harvest. So we can make arrangements if we need to get some reps out there, whatever, just so there's no surprises. And then also on soybean fields, I'm starting to kind of see evidence of maybe another hatch of stink bugs. So, as we get into pod fill and everything with soybeans, that's going to be a concern of some possible pod feeding. So I've seen some very small, been seeing some very small stink bugs in soybean fields. And so, that's going to be another thing, maybe start keeping an eye out as we go through grain fill or go into grain fill for soybeans.
We are now in August. Excuse me, we're now in August, August 1st. What did they say? Soybeans are made in August. I mean, it's been a season-long thing, so you can't just count on 1 month, but something definitely to pay attention to as we lead into September. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate your contributions. Shelby, rounding us out today.
Good morning. I mean, aside from what everybody else has said, we won't touch on the aphid thing anymore. That's kind of come and gone for the most part, I think, which is a blessing. In soybeans, fairly clean so far, continue to be, have been as well. And there, I had my crop report last week that we had some Phytophthora starting to show up, mostly in low-lying areas, compaction, but that's not surprising with the amount of rain that we've had. We ended up, with 5, 6, 8 inches of rain in areas. So you're going to start to see that take off in those locations. I mean, overall, things look good. We've got some areas that may be starting to receive almost too much rain. Corn looks phenomenal in those areas, but the beans are starting to yellow, starting to struggle a little bit. Beans do like a dry period. They can handle some stress and don't like their feet really wet. So disappointing to start to see that in some areas, but those are on lighter soils, areas that, not good flat black dirt, the little lighter areas that we have around here are starting to show up. So soybean insect pressure has been fairly low. Haven't seen a whole lot, but like Eric said, starting to see some stink bugs, maybe some loopers starting to appear. So if you haven't gotten your fungicide or insecticide application on, you might be able to take care of those if you're making a late application. Aside from that, I think we've touched on everything. Just continue to watch this crop scout, keep an eye on things because things can drastically change quickly, and there may be something you have to do or you can't do. If weeds pop up, you may have to do mechanical, if we've talked about. But all in all, just kind of see how this plays out here for the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Shelby. Tar spot was brought up a couple weeks ago, and now not really hearing anything about it. Is not here. It seems it's more prevalent in other states than it is here. Any thoughts on tar spot, or are we like it's a mute point now?
We haven't seen it in our area yet.
Okay.
I've talked with several guys, talked with our DeKalb agronomist the other day. He hadn't seen it. It's in surrounding areas. I've heard it's in Decatur, Springfield area pretty well, but this rain and the tar spot likes wet leaves. So this rain and the humidity could bring it in, just depending on how things pan out, but have not seen it in this area yet.
Yeah, the same. I think we've seen lesion here or there. I didn't get them confirmed. I think I saw it in Stonington in our nursery, but that was an irrigated nursery, so it has a little bit more water there, so that makes sense a little bit. But haven't really seen it progress, and that's been almost a month ago. So the rains, the humidity, it likes those things. But maybe this has been too much in areas. So we're not 100% sure. But I would think if it goes, it could go fast. That's the concern, is once it gets going, it can go fast. I have seen fields literally black. So
It's
keep your eye
definitely
out.
not off the table. Yeah, you need to
No.
keep watching for it. And
Yeah.
it does like slightly cool temperatures, which we haven't had this last week, but we still have plenty of opportunity for that to happen. So we know that the inoculum is out there. So I would just keep an eye on it.
That's what I was thinking. Not to rest too much on it. Keep scouting, keep looking. We still got plenty of growing season left. So even though it's August and you're like, okay, let's do it once, still gotta get out there and look. Karen, you were about to say something else.
Yeah, so I got a text yesterday. Last night was the lamest hyped up storm ever for central Iowa. However, the one on Tuesday messed up a lot of seed corn with some fields at 50% green snap.
Ooh.
So that's from central Iowa.
Okay, so no derecho sounded like, but they had worse storms
On Tuesday.
on
Yeah.
Tuesday. Well, the rain's just got to keep on coming. We'll see if this pattern continues into harvest. I don't want to say that out loud, but we've had some pretty good conditions for harvest the past couple of years. So, like I said, still plenty of the year of 2024 left. Anything else? We can make this a quick podcast today. Anything else that you want to bring up that you're seeing or hearing that you want to address?
I can't think of anything.
Can't think of anything.
I
Well,
would just say join us on Thursday at Heartland
Yeah.
Community College for the Illinois
Field
Soybean
walk.
Association
Yep.
field day.
So, lots of field days going on right now. As of right now, we don't plan to have a podcast next week. If you're listening and you're like, if you follow us hard, you're like, why didn't they post a podcast? We do have a field day next Thursday, August 8th at Heartland Community College in Normal. We'll go do that. So come to our field day. We also are going to have another one down in Decatur, September 5th with Illinois Fertilizer and Chemical Association. It's our 4-hour field talk. So that should be interesting and a lot of good stuff. You can go on Soy Advisor to learn about all of that. So short and sweet today. It sounds like there's not a lot of news out there, which is good, but things can turn just on a dime. So keep scouting, keep looking. Don't give up on this crop yet, and we'll touch base to see if anything has changed next week. And if we need to hop on, we can to talk about things. So, all right, head back out to the fields. I'll go find a soybean field, and we'll keep moving along. Thanks all. Appreciate it.